Oh. Hello and welcome to Tim and Joel Call It in the Ring. It's Thursday night, and I know it's a bit of a special Thursday night, I guess. It feels kind of special. My head's a little warmer than normal, and I just can't figure out why, Joel. Why do you think my head's a little warmer?
Maybe it's because the heat has been turned on in your house.
It is snowing. So maybe that's got to be it. Anyway.
Maybe it's because you're so excited for wrestling talk.
It has been a very regular week of wrestling, so we should probably talk about it without mentioning anything else other than wrestling.
Maybe you should subscribe to us right here at youtube.com/TimandJoelPod. Yes, we got the URL. It's official. You can also leave us a tip some holiday love over at streamlabs.com/TimandJoelPod. You can watch us every weekend on PW Unlimited because we do talk about wrestling over there once a week. And you can find me, and sometimes Tim, over at Fightful Gaming every Saturday right now on YouTube. We're moving over to Twitch, twitch.tv/Fightful Gaming. Rumor has it this weekend we're going to be streaming, and I'm going to be bringing on some friends. So there you go. Now, got those out of the way. Are you ready for the fun?
Yes. Yeah, I think I'm ready for the fun. You said holiday, so you ruined the gimmick right off the bat. You gimmick killer. We weren't supposed to say anything. You said we weren't going to talk about holidays. I set it up. I said, oh my God. Anyway.
I mean, there's no holidays for me. I'm a Jew.
Okay.
Those holidays are done.
It's done. It's over. Well, anyway, thanks for the subscribes.
All right, let's run to it. Let's talk about it, Tim. It's the Slammies.
What?
Did you watch the Slammies?
No, I didn't watch the Slammies, man.
I wonder if anyone in our chat on YouTube watched the Slammies, but I'm going to read to you who the nominees were, and you're going to tell me who you think won the Slammy.
Got it. Loved it. This is a good game. Good opening. It's like Christmas morning. I feel like I'm opening gifts.
That's right. We're going to start with male superstar of the year. We have The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, Braun Strowman, Randy Orton, Roman Reigns, and Drew McIntyre. Who was male superstar of the year?
If there's any justice in this world, Drew McIntyre.
And Drew McIntyre was the male superstar of the year. Female superstar of the year, was it Asuka? Was it Sasha Banks? Was it Bayley? Was it Becky Lynch? Or was it Charlotte Flair?
Okay, well, Becky Lynch and Charlotte were not present for most of the year, so it doesn't even seem right to nominate them. You know what? Okay. Was Asuka in there?
Asuka was there.
Okay. She belongs there. You know what? Sasha.
You're right. The stands come through. Sasha Banks, female superstar of the year.
Makes sense.
You go 2 for 2.
I know. You know what? This is reasonable. I'm glad they're being very reasonable in their distribution.
How about breakout star of the year? Let's see if you can do this. Dominic Mysterio, Bianca Belair, Otis, the Street Profits, or Murphy?
This one's harder. This one's much harder. Bianca Belair didn't really get a good shot at this year. They delayed it a lot. Are the Street Profits
Tim did not watch the Slammies.
Are the Street Profits new this year?
No, they're breakout, so it could be in the last couple of years.
I gotta give it to Dominic, man. Like, it wasn't a great storyline, but like he put on some great matches. Like, he really surprised me. So I'm gonna say Dominic. As weird as I feel like it would be for them to give it to him.
You were so close. It is the Street Profits.
Doesn't feel right. Well, I guess they did. They blew up this year. They had a lot. Like, they had more angles, whereas I think Dominic had like the one through kind of story. So
yeah, it made more sense.
I can see it. I like the Street Profits enough that I feel no. Yeah.
There's like a million of these. I'm not going to read all of them. I'll give you a couple more to guess from. Here, how about Return of the Year? You should get this, no problem. Sami Zayn, Goldberg, MVP, Roman Reigns, or Edge?
Edge.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tag team of the year. Let's do tag team of the year. Is it Golden Role Models, Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, also known as Shania Payne in our house, The New Day, The Street Profits, or Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro?
It's got to be the Golden Role Models.
No, it was The Street Profits again. Yeah, that one was a little bit of a shock to me. But
yeah, I don't know.
here we are.
Right.
We'll do three more. We'll do Rivalry of the Year. Was it Lana versus the announce tables? Was it R-Truth versus the World? Sasha Banks versus Bayley? Edge versus Orton? Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton? Or Seth Rollins versus the Mysterio family?
Man, you know what? Bayley and Sasha carried this year. I'm going to say their feud.
Edge versus Orton.
Why? They had... Okay.
Couldn't tell you.
Whatever.
Because they're going to come back to it very shortly.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the thing is that, like, all of Edge's stuff got, like, chopped, which is a little bit... Like, it makes that kind of funky. Like, you could tell that was clearly their plan, but it just didn't happen that way. So, okay. Bayley won... Hold on.
Okay.
Bayley has to have won something, right?
Bayley?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Bayley won. I'm just going to tell you now. Social media superstar of the year.
What?
And double cross of the year for Bayley on Banks.
That's a category, eh? Okay.
Yep. Okay. Let's do two more and then we'll move on. Moment of the year. Is it Bayley betrays Sasha Banks? Is it the New Day gets drafted to different brands? Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman unite? Is it the New Day's farewell address? Is it Edge returns to the Men's Royal Rumble match? Becky Lynch announces her pregnancy? Drew defeats Brock at WrestleMania? Or The Undertaker's final farewell?
Man, too many nominations.
It's a lot there.
It shouldn't be, but The Undertaker. Is it The Undertaker?
And it was.
Yeah.
Did not expect that. Wasn't a big fan, but here we are. And then match of the year. This is the last one. We'll end on this. By the way, superstar of the year was Drew McIntyre.
Damn
and
right.
the field was basically the men and women we already went through for men and women superstar of the year.
Makes sense.
Match of the year. Here, there's a lot of them. So let's go through this. Is it Undertaker versus AJ Styles in the Boneyard match at WrestleMania? Is it the New Day versus the Hurt Business back in November of 2020? Is it Edge versus Orton for the greatest wrestling match ever at Backlash? Is it the Men's Royal Rumble match? Is it AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan for the Intercontinental Championship, the tournament finals on SmackDown in June? Is it Reigns versus Uso, the Hell in a Cell I Quit match? Banks versus Bayley, Hell in a Cell? Is it AJ Styles versus Sami Zayn versus Jeff Hardy for the Intercontinental Championship triple threat ladder match? Is it Drew McIntyre versus Roman Reigns at Survivor Series? Or is it Becky Lynch versus Asuka at the Royal Rumble 2020? That's basically a year's worth of matches right there.
That's an awful lot. I mean, there's a lot of contention there. If it were me, I would go with the ladder match, but the Boneyard match triggered like a bunch of, it helped them get through this year. It's success. So I'm going to say the Boneyard match.
And you're absolutely right. Someone in the chat saying greatest match ever, not winning the match of the year was a play.
Yeah, I mean, it's the WWE. What I will give them is they're not afraid to write things in a way that is absolutely insane. Like to the point where you write yourself into an insane corner and there's no way out. Like promoting anything is the greatest. Like that's such a dangerous.
You want me to say it?
What? What do you?
Tim, they just immolated a man on television this past Sunday. Come on, man.
They took
wrestling.
my advice. They took my advice. They twisted it. And it's, you know what? They killed a guy. I said that they got to kill a guy, and I said they don't have the guts. But it wasn't really for the characters of the brand that I had suggested. But they killed the guy. Which
do you think they really killed him though? Come on.
No. He's gonna come back. Well, I really like this. I really like that they did it. The visual looked awesome. I'm assuming that was a dummy, but they. Like better than some movies.
It was the Fiend. It was real.
Was not Bray Wyatt lying in a pile.
They wrapped him up and it was a real stunt.
Oh man, it was good. It was really good. I have it surprised me. That whole pay-per-view was tremendous. Like another one this year that I didn't think was going to be special, and it was so far probably my favorite pay-per-view of the year. Very good. I don't know what they're going to do with that. Obviously, it helps that the Fiend is supernatural, and Alexa's thing on Monday helped give us an idea of where they're taking it. I would love it if the Fiend is dead. Simply because like it's a great character. Bray Wyatt keeps coming up with these great ideas, but they are very, very difficult to write in the wrestling medium. Like The Undertaker worked off and on through the years, but it was always kind of weird. And like this supernatural stuff is so challenging. I feel for the writers in this because it is very difficult to write for that in this medium. I would love to see Bray Wyatt come back as like another re-envisioned character. And then, he can do the Mick Foley thing, cycle through different characters as much as he wants. I don't really give a crap, but
the three faces of Fiend.
Yeah. Like it'd be a good idea. Like, cause he has not let, Bray Wyatt swamp cultist die. He has continued to show up. We saw it again in this match with the rocking chair and all that. Like kudos to him. Like, I really like that he's able to do that in a way that is inventive while still like an homage to Foley. I think that he should come up with another character, and then that way they have a lot more to work with. And then anytime they think of something that does work narratively, they can use the Fiend, but it can't be Bray Wyatt's everything. It's so difficult to write that and have him remain strong. Like the Fiend for me really died at Crown Jewel. Right?
When Goldberg beat him for the Universal Championship.
That's it. That was character dead to me. Like it just.
And you're not alone. You're not alone there.
They should not have put the title on him at any point. Is my opinion. And having Goldberg come in and beat him just doesn't make it. It completely squashed the supernatural part of it. He was not invincible. He's just some weirdo in a mask now. Like.
Well, I mean, I will say this. Bray Wyatt has had a lot of input into his character. More than most wrestlers would. And he's obviously been given the opportunity to roll with it. Giving him the opportunity to also kind of be killed off in a way, or at least charred, whatever it is. It's a merch magnet.
Yeah.
The mask was money. All the t-shirts, whatever it was. That was great. And now he's going to be able to go over to creative services to merch and say, hey, I'm going to like burn half of my face on the mask. I'm going to introduce new pants, whatever it is. He's going to go and he's going to sell it because the man knows that all he needs to do to reinvent his character is give the WWE and give a reason financially to do it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just doing creative stuff. And God forbid you do anything creative, right?
No, and that's the thing. Like, I don't fault them for any of the weird missteps because like when they were doing the red lighting, it was very difficult to watch it, like just as a human being with eyes. Like it was hard for me to look at the screen when it was all red, but they're trying new things. I can't fault them for that. I like that Bray takes chances and that he has this much creative input. I think he can keep evolving the character. It's just, I would love to have a bit more narrative depth to it, but ultimately it's still wrestling. Like what makes this challenging is at the end of the day, you still got to get in that ring and put on a wrestling match. Yeah. And with these supernatural characters, it's always going to be very, very difficult. And like The Undertaker is one of the most revered wrestlers in all of wrestling history. And so many times through his career where they're like really bad gimmicky moments. Like, so for every misstep they make, it's never going to be unforgivable because it is wrestling. And frankly, like, setting him on fire, by no means a misstep. Very, very happy with this.
I was saying it earlier today on Twitter that I'm waiting for the first wrestling storyline to ever fully end. I'm saying like not transfer to the next person, not be a blow off match. I'm saying like fade to black. It's over. That's what I want to see. And the day that happens, there are going to be people who make threads about it, who talk about how it started in 55 and then all the way up to 2000 and whatever. we had all these matches pivot to this match. Someone is a historian. Some historian out there is going and like looking at every single match and being like, oh, this is the thread that led to this match. This is it. And then all of a sudden we fade to black and now I don't know what to do with my life.
Yeah.
That's going to happen.
I don't know. One day, but it's, I don't know. It's wrestling, man. I don't mind. I like how they've built this. I was not at all interested in Randy Orton versus The Fiend, and they've pulled me in. I'm into it. I think it makes sense that Randy would win. That RKO while he was on fire is so good. Like, yeah. I love that whole match. And it was short. It was not like too long. It did feel weird having it placed at the end, but they kind of had to. So like,
what were you going to do? Hey, we just burned a man alive. Now it's time for Roman Reigns to defend his Universal Championship as we reset here.
Let's just scrape this gore off of the mat.
Yeah. Exactly. Ooh, the mat's so clean.
Yeah, like they had to do it. So like when people noticed it and they were, flipping out on Twitter, like they're ending with this. And I was like, oh, something's going to happen. And like when it first started and the firefly part of it was just they had some like sparklers instead of the ropes. I was like, oh, whoop-de-doo.
I was really confused. Yeah, I was confused at first looking at these giant spires outside the ring being like, where's like the old school Inferno match where there's these heaters outside of the ring or on the sides of the ring like the 90s and 2000s where the flames would shoot up whenever you do a big spot. Someone was just like, nah, forget that. We are going to go, it's going to be outside the ring. The fire is going to be where the fans would normally be because we can do that now. Whoever thought that would be the idea, perfect. Love it. Do something completely outside the box. Why not?
No, and it worked really, really well. The rocking chair spot was great. And like, I don't know how they actually do that because I've tried to like put down a trail of gasoline. It doesn't really work very well. I think it's a different fuel, but anyway.
Never tried it. Probably not my forte.
Maybe clearly not mine.
But I mean, so here's the thing. We then you go and you look online and people are saying, they hate it because of this and they don't like it because it's so campy. But this is wrestling. Wrestling is crazy. Come on, man. Like, we bury people alive. We bite people. If you take a look at the thumbnail that we made today, I made that because in one calendar year, bookended, you had Shayna Baszler bite Becky Lynch before Mania. You had Hikaru Shida get bit by Abaddon. Come on, it's fun. We swing pickaxes, for Christ's sake, Tim.
That was so
and
good.
Stadium stampedes and boneyard matches. Boneyard matches, it won a damn award this year.
It was
because
great.
That's what wrestling is.
Yeah.
It's like, fun, man.
I don't know. Honestly, anyone who's looking for... Like, it's the same thing with the people who champion the sports-centric stuff of AEW. Like, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Like, there are actual sports you can just watch. This has never been that. Never, ever. Like, before this, it was a carny-con, and then it became, what it is today. It was never something full of, like, seriousness and gravitas. Like, and it should not be. I don't think it could... Anything that choreographed can't be. Like...
No, and we talk about it. There's room for it in certain circles. And you can find it. You go out and you find it. You can find it in MLW. You can find it in Ring of Honor. If you want that serious style, you want that pure wrestling, whatever it is, that's fine. It's out there because people want to see it. If you want that weird, crazy, we shot a man during his wedding shit, or we go to the dark realm, come on. That's on Impact. So we see it and we watch it and we love it because it's silly, man. And if you're taking it too seriously, then you got to really start thinking about where your priorities lie.
Like, I mean, watch MMA or watch Ring of Honor. Like, and Ring of Honor's fine. It's just, if I want to watch something like that, I want to see more athleticism. Like, I want to see people doing tremendous feats of strength or like really insane high flyer stuff. And that's why I don't really watch Ring of Honor, because it doesn't, like, it's all of the same stuff without any of the fun for me, like the narrative fun, the goofiness, the soap opera of it all. Like if Ring of Honor was really incredible and these were like athletes doing unbelievable, like you'd hear a lot more people getting hurt in Ring of Honor, and I might actually watch it. Sadly, like I don't want them to get hurt, but like it needs to be truly exceptional, and like the best of the best just aren't there for me. So.
By the way, shout out to Tim because apparently Paul Heyman watches our show.
Yeah,
as we discovered
kidding.
this past week. Tim makes one reference about NASCAR and about car crashes and about Inferno. And here we are, TLC, watching and just like, hey, wait, NASCAR? That's our thing.
Yeah.
Well played.
Hey, and then they kill a guy. After I say that Dexter Lumis or Karrion Kross, in order to get those characters over, they gotta kill a guy. Well, they took that and they applied it to Randy Orton because they just love him so dang much. But it made sense. It worked. I loved it. I don't know.
This is why I host a show with you, my friend. This is why.
I'm available. I'll tell you how to kill so many guys on screen.
Thank you for putting the on-screen caveat, because I don't want to know how you know how to kill a person, period, in a sentence.
No, I probably wouldn't be very good at it. I can't even light gasoline strips. So
no, but you can light us on fire by joining and liking this page. That was great. That was awful. That was not a good
garbage. I'm sorry.
All right. We have a tip jar. It's streamlabs.com/TimandJoelPod. It's the holidays. Be nice to us. PW Unlimited is where we do our weekly draw, where we talk about the week in wrestling that's coming up. We also do our pay-per-view predictions there. You can like and subscribe to us on YouTube. We finally got our custom URL, youtube.com/TimandJoelPod. And I'm going to play video games on Saturday with Jeremy Lambert and Shaquille Majuri from Fightful MMA. That's right. We're going to play some video games. And now we're going to talk about The Collective, Tim. Have you ever watched The Collective? Are you familiar with it?
No, it sounds like a game show on MTV.
I think you're thinking of The Challenge. And Leo Rush is on that. Leo Rush has been on The Collective.
Oh, weird.
Yes.
Oh, look at that. See, now you're putting stuff together. It's really well packaged. Okay.
Once in a while, I get it right. So WWE earlier this week, they filed a trademark for The Collective as an event, as a marketable term, so on and so forth. Now, here's the problem with that. The Collective is an event that has been in use for the last 2 years by GCW and its owner, Brett Lauderdale. And Brett, when he was asked, he's not worried because, quite frankly, if they can prove that they've been using it, which they easily can, then WWE has to drop it. It's easily contestable because they use it as early as fall 2020 when they were in Indianapolis. And that was the match. Jon Moxley was there, for Christ's sake. Like, if you want to talk about people who come out for The Collective, and that's every WrestleMania weekend, it's a thing. And then because Mania was lost this year, they ran it in Indianapolis in October. So why? What does it accomplish for WWE to pull this shit? Is it to make them pay a little money to get to this point?
Yeah, I mean, it could be. I just don't see the WWE as like having to concern itself with trying to, legally bully people. It could be that this is on the table as like a faction. I would not expect it to be an event because that's now indefensible, but they might be able to get away with using it as a faction name. They would still have a case to argue it because they're using it in the wrestling space, but like, it all comes down to how much GCW would be willing to do that. And I don't think it would be cheap or fun. They'd win, but
yeah. The joke that I made was after NXT last night when Indy Hartwell was rechristened Indie Wrestling, that her new finisher should be The Collective.
That could be it. At which point, like, I wouldn't even care to defend it. Like, let them use it. Even like, yeah, blah blah blah. The WWE's like the big mean bully, but it's also like not that important.
It sounds like they're gonna fight it, and it sounds like they're gonna win it back. The Brett Lauderdale and GCW, because it's their annual event, and it's their WrestleMania because it's literally.
Oh, okay, yeah. In that case, then you want to fight that because anytime someone puts in The Collective Wrestling, you want it to go to you and not go to Indy Hartwell, right? So
right, and The Collective is literally a collective. It is multiple independent wrestling organizations banding together to put a bunch of events on.
Okay, then absolutely fight that. Yeah, it seems like a weird. Yeah, a weird petty thing for WWE to do. Maybe they're just ignorant.
Yeah. Similarly, Keith Lee, he moved to own his own name instead of having WWE sign off on a trademark to own his name. Smart move. More wrestlers need to do that. Own your name, get that leverage. And you know what? that's ahead. You're ahead of the game because if you have post WWE career aspirations, for some it's wrestling elsewhere, for some it's making a movie, for some it's creating whatever, or just living off of your name outside of WWE, you need to do it. You need to own the name. Otherwise, other people can own it. How can you start your Twitch, Tim?
Yeah, apparently.
That's right. Twitch.tv/Fightful Gaming, by the way. You want to talk about Impact real quick? It was
Yep.
ending.
Yeah, it was a recap. Yeah. But
you and I sat down. We watched the hilarious Tony paid advertisement.
A plus. Longer
Love
one
it.
this week. Longer one.
$7 billion to own a company, eh? I think we can pull some resources.
I think, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it was fun. Listen, we're going to get to Hard to Kill. I'm hoping that there's going to be more than just that one cross-branded match, but I don't want the other championship titles on the line in cross-branded matches. We saw on AEW this week, we saw Sean Spears make reference to being made useful again. Send him to Impact. Why not? Take him off of Dark, take him off of Dynamite, send him to Impact, build him up, use him, and then put him on a big match at Hard to Kill. Why not? Right? Yeah. I wouldn't mind seeing it.
Yeah, I'm getting the feeling that this isn't going to be a long-standing thing. I don't know what it is, but like it is just striking me as like because I think there were some rumors talking about that was the plan, that it is not this long, drawn-out partnership. And it really does feel limited in scope to maybe even just this one match. So,
yeah, and there's opportunity there. I understand where Dark may do better than Impact in terms of ratings. Impact is still being affected by AEW's presence in a positive way. They're not getting the same stink that Dark has because Dark is solely on YouTube. Not as many people necessarily want to watch it seriously, whereas Impact is its own show. People can take it seriously. That's where my brain is.
Yeah.
Now, Wrestler of the Year, Knockout of the Year, Deonna Purrazzo. Any gripes with that?
I don't know. I didn't watch enough Impact this year. Like from when I picked it up, yeah, that makes sense. Kind of. I don't know. Maybe even Eric Young from when I picked up, but
fair. Purrazzo came in and made a big impact. No pun intended. But at the same time, she had to drop that title once and pick it back up. Rich Swann had a big 2020 when he came back. So there's a lot.
It feels really like heavy on the back end, you know? Like it's hard for me to. Yeah, like what was the rest of the year like? Who's been ever present and really like killing it?
It's true, and you can't give it to the North because together tag team of the year, I would give them that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, in terms of Wrestler of the Year, in that top echelon, who else on the male side of the roster was there? You had Willie Mack, you had Rich Swann, like we said, we had Moose, we had who else was there? Chris Bay is starting to come into his own. You have Rohit Raju if you want to talk about X Division. What is there to bring someone from the male side of the roster over to that Wrestler of the Year category? Is there anyone?
No, I think they just kind of had too much whiplash with it. They went back and forth with all these different angles. People like were there and then they had to move on or take time off. So it's tough.
Maybe it should have been Johnny Bravo. Man gets shot, comes right back. Come on.
There's a good case for it. I just don't care.
There is no case for it, but there is a case for the Genesis X Cup that's coming up, the Super X Cup. Participants were announced, the matches were announced, so let's get the matches out of the way. Ace Austin takes on Suicide. Really excited for Ace Austin. Really excited for that. Daivari and Cousin Jake going one-on-one. Got Crazy Steve versus Trey Lamar as I drop things in the background as usual. Trey Lamar, by the way, we saw at Greektown Wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
You remember Trey Lamar?
I do.
Yeah, really, really great talent. Casey Navarro and Blake Christian from GW and Interesting. All right. Well, that's
Okay.
working on my side.
I think we're back.
Ooh.
That was weird.
No, it just lost you. So unplug and replug. Yay, it's Christmas. Oh, it's back. You can hear me now. But can they hear you, Tim? I can't hear you yet. Ooh, all right. Happy New Year, folks. This is what I love about wrestling.
So everyone
you hear
can
Tim
hear,
or do you hear Joel?
Everyone can hear both of us.
I can't hear you at all. Well, apparently now we're good, but the problem is on our side, we can't hear each other just yet. So we got to fix that.
Do you hear me?
Nope.
Nothing yet.
I got to do something about, I'm going to have you call me and talk to me. Hang tight. We're going to fix this thing together. We're going to do it in the most magical of ways because this is Christmas. Or at least it's almost Christmas. I don't know. I'm just a guy who's here talking to you one-on-one because I'm still waiting until I can hear Tim again. And when I can hear my darling Tim, we'll fix everything and we'll make life grand again.
Well, this is fun.
Is life grand yet? I can't hear you anymore. Life is grand. This is what we get. This is the fun. This is the fun of the season for us. So who will it be? Will I ever hear Tim again? That's the question. He can hear me. I know that. Can you hear me? Can Tim hear me? He can hear me.
Tim can hear you.
All right, we're going to do it like this. Oh, this is going to be interesting. How am I going to do this?
You're going to mute your mic.
I'm going to pick up this phone.
Oh,
I'm going to make it work. Tim's now calling me via Messenger because this is what we do. And now we're going to see if this works.
This is so fun.
All right. This is what I need. I got you here.
You can hear me? Cool.
I can hear you.
Beautiful. What a weird situation.
Yes.
All right. Well, shit happens.
Folks, this is what we get to do together every single Thursday night.
God bless the internet. Okay. Let's reset.
Yes, I'm not going to steal Jeremy Lambert's line about loving this business, but I do love this business.
We do it because we love it. All right.
That's right. I love this business.
Who don't? Lots of people don't.
Yeah, lots of people. A lot of people want to complain about this business, but you know.
So many. All right.
Okay. Genesis X Cup participants, yes?
Sure. Yeah, let's talk about that.
All right. Ace Austin versus Suicide is going to be good. Daivari taking on Cousin Jake. Cousin Jake, by the way, needs a big statement win after all of the issues that he's been having with Cody Deaner, Crazy Steve, and Trey Lamar. Trey Lamar, we've seen at Greektown Wrestling here in Toronto a bunch, and we are excited to see Trey on the big stage. And then Casey Navarro and Blake Christian. If you know Blake Christian, you know him from GCW and from New Japan's Super J Cup that just happened in LA. Big opportunity for those guys. Anything to add, Mr. Tim?
No, it sounds good. I'm mostly excited for the Daivari Cousin Jake match because, I really do enjoy Daivari. He's a seasoned veteran. Jake, I've seen at least a lot locally. I think you have too. So it'll be good to see him in something that I think he can put on a really good show. So,
yeah. And meanwhile, we had Ring of Honor. We had Final Battle this past weekend. I'm not going to go too far into it, but I will say if you do get a chance and you do go back to watch it, great show. I can't believe I'm about to say it, but Flip Gordon actually had a great match. Flip is a giant tool, but he took on Jonathan Gresham and it went well. Good enough for me. Okay. Yeah. Rush's dad and brother are now in a faction together, by the way. I love it. It's silly. Let's do that. Danhausen got a contract. Very nice. Very evil.
That's fun.
Love that Danhausen.
He's good time.
Without going too far, you know what? I'm ready for a great 2021 for Ring of Honor, especially if they're going to take the time building their product the way they have been. And if some of the things that they're planning come to fruition, some of the stuff we've been reading, I'm for it.
Woohoo.
Tim, you came to me last week and you said, Joel, I don't want to be negative no more.
I don't want to be a cranky pants because I'm
That's
trying
right. There's
to,
enough.
Yeah.
There's enough cranky pants. There are enough people complaining about immolation. complaining about boneyard matches, complaining about boner matches, complaining about everything, Tim. They were always complaining.
It was the boner yard match, thank you, not the boner match.
Whatever, same thing. Loved it.
Basically the same thing, yeah.
And you said to me, I want to do more. I want to talk nicely about wrestling.
Yeah.
And then I said to myself, yes, I want to do the same thing. In fact, I want to rebrand hits and misses.
Yeah. And
I want to keep the hits because we talk about the nice.
Yeah, nice.
But you know what I want to
nice.
do?
What?
I want to debut our new segment. It's called Booking Me Softly.
In his arms. Hold him. Anyway, yeah.
We don't want to get copyright struck. So the misses, we're actually just going to rebook.
Yeah.
And we're going to we won't test on everything.
Yeah.
Yes. Suggest.
We'll make Tim, creative alternatives.
Yes. So give me your hits for TLC, Tim.
Just like almost all of it. Really, really surprised at how good that pay-per-view was. Both TLC matches were fantastic. Like very, very, very good. Having the Miz call it in, or Morrison, I guess, call it in for the Miz was interesting. And then, yeah, love the Inferno match. Like I've already gushed about for ages. Women's tag match made sense to me. Was good. What else was there? There was so much.
There were 5 or 6 matches. New Day versus the Hurt Business.
Solid. They gave the titles to the Hurt Business, which is what needed to happen. Now I want to see them continue to dominate with the gold.
And the 8-man pre-show.
Yeah, I didn't watch that. Didn't watch that at all. So
great. Glad we had this chat.
Was it great too? Everybody. It was probably great. Yeah, exactly. Everything was great. Very good match.
And we knew this kind of going into it. It was going to be a strong show. It was going to be a lot of fun. And I agree with you. The whole show was solid. Roman getting that good heat. That stuff where you're just like, oh, I can't believe he just got away with that.
Needing Jay to help him pull out the win, right? Like,
yeah,
great, right? This is one storyline that, like, narratively, I don't think I'd change anything. Like the Roman and Jay stuff has been very, very good, and they've taken it in ways that I didn't even think of. Like I'm very happy to see Kevin Owens involved in there, just because I love him, and I wouldn't have thought to put him in the mix here. So
yeah. And also Omos just made it for me. I love Omos now. Who doesn't?
Yeah, he's great.
They can't do much bad with him. I'm looking forward to how they kind of work with him. The table spots, the rockabye cradle onto the table into that. That was great.
Very good.
What do you want to rebook from TLC?
You know what? Like, having someone as over as Charlotte come out felt like I don't think it was necessary. I think it would have been cooler to bring her back in a little bit of a different way. I think they had the right idea with Billie Kay that they just didn't do. Like, they hinted at it, right? Like, she's looking for a job. Having her win the tag titles with Asuka would have been funny. That's how I would have done it. I would have been fine with her coming out, or anybody who isn't as over as Charlotte, because I don't think Charlotte needed to come back with the title. I think I'd seen some people suggest Naomi, but I think that there's better ideas for her. I don't think she would have been the right choice, but someone a little bit less well known, maybe a call up from NXT, something like that.
Yeah, no, I agree that Charlotte, it wasn't the right time to have her, at least the right place to have her come in. I think it would have been better maybe seeing her at the Royal Rumble.
Yep.
I understand that there is a great story that you can tell with Charlotte and Asuka, and you can tell the story about how Nia Jax took out Charlotte initially 6 months ago. Sure, that's great, but it was just kind of like, it was there. And you could have had a maybe something with Lana coming back on crutches, winning the tag titles. Maybe she actually gets taken out the next night. Whatever it is, she has to give up her tag team championship, or they give them back to Nia and Shayna. Whatever it is, there was just Charlotte. And maybe it's because the spoilers were out mid-afternoon. Maybe that's why. But I also I needed something different, and I would have liked to have seen Charlotte come back in a bigger spot than at TLC in a tag team match for the women's tag team championships.
They also, like, she was on all 3 shows before leaving, so, like, I'm still kind of a little, like, burnt out on her. Like, it's still, like it's been like 6 months, and I don't know that I needed to see her just yet. Like I would have liked to see her in a better spot. But
She's on SmackDown this Friday, by the way.
yeah, so like why? Anyway,
she gets the views. She really does. She's very popular. I get it.
Can't deny the numbers, I guess. But
there are other people to use, and I think you and I just kind of hit on that a bit. There was room to do it differently. Yeah. Let's move on. Let's talk about Raw. What'd you like?
Alexa Bliss did a great job. Yes. They set this up pretty well. I wouldn't like to see her like I hope they keep the Fiend off for a little while. Like, you know, guy got burnt. Yeah. So like I like where they're going with this so far. I think that's the good first step. I did too much. Like they didn't spend too much time on it. Like any longer would have been too long. So.
Do you find it weird that we're infantilizing Alexa Bliss right now?
Yeah, obviously.
That she is essentially a sixth grader, a possessed sixth grader.
Yeah, the swing set was a little weird, but
I agree. But it was still a really good segment.
If you're going for creepy vibes, it doesn't get much creepier. So
totally. My favorite thing in that whole thing was seeing that swing set, because the swing set was just, it was so creepy and it was in the dark, and it reminded me of all things. It reminded me of that part in The Simpsons where Marge looks over at Bart, who's flying a kite at night, and says, "There's something so unwholesome about flying a kite at night."
Hello, mother.
Hello, mother dear. She just closes the curtain, and that's what I thought of.
Yeah, basically.
So, you know what? It's still, I enjoyed it. And you know what? It gives me the right type of TBGBs, so that's fine. Yeah. What do you want to rebook from Raw? I have a feeling there's a lot, but let's pick one thing.
Yeah. Like I would focus on the Angel Garza take this Rose thing. Doesn't feel like it's going to go. Like that's going to be hard to make into a compelling narrative. I think they had the right idea with him and Andrade. Like they need to build up their tag team division, and I thought that they were working well as a tag team, even with a little bit of animosity between them. And now we don't have Zelina there to glue them together. But it would have been nice to see that tag team actually become a tag team and grow and evolve over time, rather than kind of quickly split them up the way they did.
Yeah, no, I do agree with that. It seems that Andrade's out with some sort of surgery, having had it. So I get why he's out. It also could have been elective surgery. He could have chosen to have gone out. Regardless, whatever they're doing with Garza, we kind of have to get there quicker, because the Rose thing is starting to play out a little bit further than I would like. Maybe it's time to bring in, a lot of people have talked about who they could bring in, Eva Marie being one of them. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't mind that. Yeah. But yeah, listen, they brought him up. He had a good match this past week on Raw, and that was it. They could have told the story about who did he face? Was it wasn't Tony Nese? Who was it? It was another former cruiserweight champion. Well, I know, now my brain is.
I can't even think of it. It wasn't a long match. Like,
let's bring it up. Let's take a look at Raw. It was Drew Gulak. Oh, of course.
Oh my God,
Drew Gulak. Of course.
I even talked about this earlier today. Yeah.
So here's the thing. You can tell the story about how two former cruiserweight champions are going at it, and how these two fought valiantly for their titles back in the day. You can build the match a little bit better than, we're going to put Garza out there and Gulak, and they're going to have a squash in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
It's a better way to do it.
Oh well.
The only thing otherwise that I would pick, we talked about the women's tag division. That's kind of across the board. Ricochet and Retribution. Again, Ricochet is now becoming Retribution's winning board. Because everyone's just picking up wins off of Ricochet if you're in Retribution.
Yeah, and it's like Retribution's core reason for existing doesn't even seem to be part of the narrative anymore. Like now that they're WWE superstars, they're fine. Like there aren't any Molotov cocktails, and I miss them.
And no more bricks being hurled through PC windows.
Yeah, bad spray paint. Like yeah, you gotta, like, that part of who that faction is just kind of slowly trickled away, and I think they need to, if they want to keep it going, and by no means do they have to. They can wrap that up whenever they want. Then they need to bring that part of it back to it. Like, it can't just be about trying to get one new member.
Yeah.
So.
And I asked the question on Monday, if Ricochet just bails and joins Retribution, what's the ceiling?
Yeah.
He teams with Ali because they're similar sizes. They win the tag titles, and then what? What do we do? I want to see more from Ricochet and Retribution. I want to see maybe people get kicked out of Retribution and take off the mask and have to say, you know what? Forget this. That was me. This is actually me. This is Mace is actually Dio Madden. This is who I am. I'm not going to fight this anymore.
It would be cool to have it would be cool to have that infighting, right? Like have that team struggle to continue existing because like they don't even know what they're fighting after. Like, are they going for tag titles? Like, do they care about championships? What is their purpose? They set out with a purpose. They feel like they've drifted from it. Now they're bickering. Like, I'd like to see something like that come about. Be cool.
Yeah. You know what else would be cool? If people want to leave us some tip jar love over at streamlabs.com/TimandJoelPod. Yes. Got it.
Woohoo!
Number one.
What's the next show?
Let's talk about AEW. What'd you like?
Really like the main event. Solid stuff. Bucks did a good job. They've been building the Acclaimed pretty well. Like they had that little.
I was going to say you weren't a big fan of the Acclaimed.
No. This is the second match I've seen now, and it was better. Like the first one didn't. You had mentioned to me that they were pretty solid in ring, and I had only seen the one match, and they weren't that solid. Now this one was like, okay, this was fun. I think they need to use different beats every week if they're going to do a hip hop thing. The package worked. Like that was redemption after that backstage Young Bucks thing that didn't quite work out. So it's good to see them being aware of that and doing something to offset it. It's just, they can't come out every single week. They can. They could do that. That would be perfectly fine. A very normal thing to do. But it's not going to win me over. So I would like to see them come out and rap over a different beat every week.
Okay. I get that. I'll give you one more. Tony Schiavone versus Eddie Kingston.
You know what? Part of it was grating me a little bit. And I was like, oh no, this is what you want to happen, right? Like Eddie's supposed to be the heel. So he's got to start like kind of picking at everyone. It was working. It's very frustrating. I want to watch Eddie get slapped now.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just everything that Tony trying to talk about next week's New Year's bash and having Eddie Kingston talk over and be like, I'm trying to put him in the match.
Could you not cut me off while I'm trying to promote?
Just Tony taking absolutely no guff. I loved it. And then at the end, Eddie Kingston getting up and telling Tony, you're garbage, JR, happy holidays.
Yeah. No, it was good. And that match was good. Like I felt that Eddie's commentary added to it while it was happening, but I love seeing Butcher in there with Pac. It was a good match.
Can we talk about the Butcher's calves?
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
He was wearing
In wrestling, that's a thing. I'm telling you. Ric Flair used to wear his knee pads over his calves because he was self-conscious about the size of his calves. Because he used to have chicken legs. Yeah. They emphasize the Butcher's calves with his football pants because he's got some massive meaty ass calves.
Yeah.
Wrestling.
Yeah. This is great. I don't know. I couldn't get over how red he was, like, immediately. Like, as soon as the match started, his whole torso was pink. And I was like, oh, okay. I guess he's in his 40s, He's good. He's putting on a great bunch of work.
And I am going to eat crow this week. A little bit.
Oh.
We talked about it at the top of the show, Abaddon, the biting. I liked it. I enjoyed the story that they were trying to tell with Shida and Abaddon. Mm-hmm. I don't agree that Alex Gracia should have been kept off of the card when they were promoting Shida in action. I still think that's garbage.
Yeah.
Because Gracia has been on Dark for the last 4 weeks. She won a match on Dark to get to Shida, so I guess that's how they got around telling you who she's going to face. Sure, that's fine.
Yeah.
But it's still 9:30. They're still plugging heels. They're still doing the same old,
Well,
whatever.
it was like 11:30 this week.
So whatever. It's still 90 minutes into the show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
To the minute. Whatever. You know what? I enjoy that they actually tried to tell a story with it, and now they're going to actually have a match because she just pissed off that she got bit.
Yeah. That raises the stakes in improv. Like, it's good that there's now something to care about. Like, she bit her good.
Yes. They did make it look good. They didn't overuse a blood capsule on her face.
No, yeah.
It was the right person, right time.
Yeah, and then the right character, right? Like, that's how you build a creepy ass person like Abaddon. Just out there biting people.
What do you want to rebook?
From AEW?
Yeah.
I feel bad for the Dark Order right now because that is a good concept. Clearly it's like the Wyatt family, but like taken up to like a different level, like a more obviously culty level. And I don't think they're using that as well as they could. Like, they could really be like the dominant force in AEW, but their leader is absent right now. I don't know what's going on with Brody Lee. If he's not available for whatever reason, it would be great if they could have somebody else step in, like Uno, and have him act as a guiding figure to give them a plan and a purpose. Because right now they just exist. They're trying to recruit Hangman, which is the single narrative focus that I really like. Like, they're trying to expand. They're getting Dusty, but that didn't work, and now it's a match, and it was kind of a plotting match. Like, it didn't have the energy that I needed at that point in the show. So I'd like to give them a bit more focus. Have them try to take over backstage in a bit bigger of a way. Right now, it feels like the people who are truly in charge are the Inner Circle. But it is just a bunch of factions kind of all over the place right now.
Yeah, factions maybe do need to be reined in a little bit, and you can tell the stories with different members. MJF showing a little bit of humanity this week was actually really interesting. I didn't expect it. I think a lot of people didn't. And he wanted to talk about his grandfather on air, which was cool. So he got that moment. It was just honest, and I appreciated that.
Yeah, it was good.
But I do agree with Brody Lee being on the shelf or unavailable, whatever it is, it makes Dark Order feel a little less than. If you watch them on BTE, they're funny, they're great. They're telling the Hangman story, which I appreciate. They were telling the Dustin Rhodes story, and that the match was fine. Him and Uno, by the way, who's lost a ton of weight and is working real well. There was something there, but I agree. There's room to change up Dark Order and make them a little bit more dominant.
Like, how the show feels a little bit to me right now is closer to indie wrestling in that they're matchmaking. Like, they're really, like, things are happening very quickly in short bursts. Like, there's no longer overarching narrative, and I think that they have a lot of potential for it, especially with all these factions. Like, I'm a guy who really does like the gangs in wrestling, because it is a very plausible, realistic way of organizing all these people, but they could have these stories that intermingle a bit more. And right now it feels like they're just trying to get from one match to the next. Like, I want the Dark Order to have a purpose. They got like 10 guys. They have by far the biggest force. They should be able to be the ones in control. Yep.
And they're going to keep getting bigger and bigger as they kind of grow their stable and grow their worth as a faction. So I agree. There is space for them, but they have to. Maybe the whole point is that they're going to go on a huge losing streak before Brody Lee comes back and whips them all into shape.
Exactly, which is perfectly fine for me. It's just we gotta be telling that a bit more, like a bit more bluntly, like a little like if it's happening subtly, fine, I'll accept it when they put it together, but it should be a little bit more out there.
Tim, let's rebook the Best Man.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a little bit disappointing. I had high hopes for Miro's character.
I think a lot of people did, but I think the wedding could set it straight. They announced that they'll do the Beach Blast wedding of Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford in February. Going to be good. It's going to be fun. I'll enjoy it. But I also have a feeling that Miro might either turn the next week, or we're finally getting to that point where Miro will be on his own and cast out. He will no longer be the Best Man. It's time to move him away from Kip, because Kip hasn't been much in general in AEW.
Yeah, like Miro is a singles competitor, and like I am a big team guy. I like tag team wrestling. I like factions, but like there are some guys who stand on their own, and Miro is definitely one of them. Like with his frame and his moveset and everything, like I think he just needs to be on his own, and he needs to be the guy against the world. So
Yep, it's time. It's time for Miro to move on and be the best single man.
yeah.
Someone on Twitter had said, it's a problem when Lana is the better booked of the couple.
Yeah, and I mean, it's I'm a little bit surprised. She's gone now.
No, well, I'm sure news will be dropping about that this week. And finally, we're going to talk about NXT. What'd you like?
Ooh. What did I like? The Gargano way was awesome.
Hell yes.
The way puns at the start were very good. I like the visuals of it because they were using like the legit Sony Handycam, which is pretty funny. Wrestling wise, this week again, solid. Like it's so good. I really, really do love NXT. Partially because the storytelling is simple, straightforward, because it's wrestling, and like I think it works really, really well for them. Because the in-ring action always seems to satisfy me. So,
yeah, there was a lot of really, really, really solid wrestling. I think you said it yourself. That every week they're delivering. You can tell that it's a crop of talent that want to do better, that they want to perform, and they want to bring eyes to their product. It's just unfortunate that they're in a situation where they're part of a big machine that's not doing so well creatively and therefore gets shat on. And then on the other side on TNT, you have another very strong, engaging product. And it's tough. And the answer still isn't going to be to move one off of another night, because we know why NXT is up against AEW. It's a ratings thing. It's a value thing. I get it. So NXT, unfortunately, is going to continue to run the way they run, and for better or worse, because they're still going to have a ton of eyes on them. And they're still going to have a lot of brilliant matches and brilliant takeovers. They just won't see a million for a while unless something really big happens to them. And I don't think that I'm actually going to say this. I'm happy that the way that they're doing it is not by bringing in older talent or bringing in nostalgia talent,
which is what's working for me more than I feel AEW is on the Wednesday night. Like AEW relies heavily on those legends, and like quite a few of them are from before I started wrestling. Like I don't get as much nostalgia from Shivani or Sting or Arn Anderson or Tully. Like I wasn't around for that, and like so that it doesn't pop as much for me. Whereas NXT, like they're mostly hungry young people, and it's the in-ring stuff that's really just selling me. Like it's working for me very well, and they've done a tremendous job on commentary. Like they're willing to try stuff that's a little bit off kilter sometimes, and sometimes they miss it, right? But like I like Wade as the replacement for Mauro because I was heartbroken when Mauro left. Vic Joseph's fun. He's workable. He called Ghost Main Goat Main this week, which I found was very funny. But he made the wrong letter. He made the wrong letter silent in that. I guess.
He's very vanilla. He's very much the WWE perfect announcer. It's fine.
Exactly, and like you need that guy there with someone who like Wade Barrett is a bit more interesting.
And that's the thing. I like Mauro, but I also didn't love Mauro because everything often became about him and the puns and the play on words and the pop culture references. He's great. He's fine, but it was kind of taken away because everything was overemphasized or just put into this huge gravitas, and it didn't make sense for the product all the time.
Yeah, like it really worked on takeovers, but I found it felt kind of out of place during the weekly events. And when he missed on those, boy, did he miss. Like he would jumble up words hard when he did.
Rhea and Raquel in 2 weeks, by the way, last woman standing. I'm excited for that show.
Same.
It's going to be great. The NXT Championship on the line as well. Next week, we're going to have the NXT North American Championship on the line. Leon Ruff and Johnny Gargano, once again, going back to the way they are going to be fully involved next week. They had a great showing this past week on NXT. I agree. Indie wrestling, the way, the protein way. Come on. The Shotzi's tank, the wheel. Love it.
Yeah, that was great. That was very good.
What do you want to rebook?
Okay, so it's not so much rebook. They're winding down this Boa Xia Li thing.
Yeah.
So they've hardened them. That's the story they're telling, right? They went back. Whoever's in charge has hardened them. They need to come back with a faction that destroys. Like, and I mean, like, it's gonna be difficult for them to put them in there with their current crop of competitors. With someone like Karrion Kross in the mix, it's gonna be tough. Like, Xia Li can come back and maybe dominate the women's division. Boa can't come back and dominate the men's division, and I think to finish telling this story the way that they've put it together, he kind of has to. Like, he's got to grab a title. Like, he's got to steamroll through a whole bunch of people, and there's too many guys that he's not able to do that right now. Bronson Reed just came back, and he's no longer the thick boy. He's a mean guy.
He's going to steamroll everybody.
But he's North American, right? So, like, I don't.
Right.
There's a lot of guys who are now dominant forces. They need to move some people out again already because they're so good at building talent in NXT. Like, when they moved when Keith Lee moved off, I was like, and Karrion was out, I was like, they really got to build guys fast, and they did it. They did it so quickly. But now
they have to deal with them. Yeah.
now there's a bottleneck again, and it's like, you don't have enough championships. You don't have enough. Like, you gotta either put together some tag teams, which, you know, they did that too. Killian and Drake did great, tremendous match this week. They didn't win, but like, they're a tag team, a legitimate tag team, and it feels that way. So.
And I mentioned this. I'm on Throwback's audio podcast this weekend, and we talked about NXT. And I said that the best thing about NXT is that they don't go out of their way to make you just want to watch the title matches. They go out of their way to make you want to watch the stories that develop beyond the titles. Adam Cole is not currently in the title picture, but you're still very much invested in where Adam Cole lands.
Yeah.
And that kind of leads me to my rebuilding. Part 1 is, holy shit, get rid of the Velveteen Dream.
I mean, it is kind of nice to have him as a punching bag, but yeah, I agree. We gotta move him out of the program. Watching him get slapped 3 sentences into his promo was very satisfying. But like, other than that, I don't know. And we've already seen that match, and they put on a tremendous match in, you know, a parking lot. So
that was not a good match, but it's just
you didn't like that match?
No,
you didn't like that parking lot match. I loved it.
Parking lot match was awful. I did not like it.
No, that was great. So good.
No, that's wrestling, though. That's what we do. And then, all right, let's do it. We're going to rebook Timothy Thatcher.
I don't agree.
My problem with Timothy Thatcher is that he just doesn't win. And when they give him a big match, he just doesn't win. Why would you put him up against Leon Ruff to then have Thatcher break off and face Ciampa in the fight pit? And I get that Leon Ruff is going to go on and face for the North American Championship because he got the win, but the win didn't mean anything because he beat Thatcher, and Thatcher doesn't win. So why are we doing this? What do we gain from Thatcher losing the big matches and having these feuds? He's suddenly untouchable for some reason, even though he loses.
Well, he went over on Riddle in the fight pit before Riddle moved up, right? Now, and I think they're coasting on that.
Yeah, that's the problem.
And it's too distant. Like, it's way too distant. So, yeah, I don't know. He needs to beat Ciampa, but I'm tired of seeing Ciampa always lose. Like, after, you know, he wins, and then loses the big one.
Right. So where do we put... I mean, listen, the real thing is Thatcher needs to be built better with wins more than he does with being placed with top-tier talent to face.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, like, there's not enough room. Like, Ciampa needs to move up. Like, he needs to go to SmackDown or Raw at this point, and I don't know that he even has the appetite for that.
And I don't think the answer is to do that, because if you start doing those things, you're going to be stuck with moving them up to Raw or SmackDown, where they're not going to get any creative anything out of it.
But there's nothing for them here either, right? Like,
there is, though, because you can at least roll it back and have other stories told within the NXT narrative. They can listen. There's always going to be a plateau that you hit, and there's always going to be a state that look at Ciampa. Tommaso Ciampa could be the NXT champion right now, but he's not. Yeah. Instead, he's the gatekeeper for NXT.
Which
he was
sucks.
the gatekeeper for. That's fine. He was the gatekeeper for Cross. Cross took him out. He was gone for 4 months. He came back. He took out Theory for a few weeks, and then that built Theory despite the stuff going on with Theory. They did the right things to build talent that is A tier or S tier in some cases, and still make them relevant without a championship.
Yeah, I know. And that's the thing. Like, I think it's just how much I like Ciampa personally, like in NXT, that I want to see him get more. But like, there's nothing wrong with how he's being used. Like, I think it's being written well. It's just, yeah. I think the Thatcher match was such a surprise that I think the NXT team just wanted to run it back because of how good the in-ring was.
Right. And if you like what we're dishing out, you can leave us a tip over at streamlabs.com/TimandJoelPod. By the way, you can like the video, subscribe to us on YouTube, leave a comment on the video even. And finally, Tim, we're going to talk about SmackDown, because SmackDown is actually going to be really good this week.
Yeah.
It was taped on Tuesday. Yeah, it was taped on Tuesday, but I think you're going to like what's coming up. For the Universal Championship in a steel cage match, you have Roman Reigns defending against Kevin Owens. Going to be good. You got Daniel Bryan versus Jay Uso. I will tell you, I was in Thunderdome for that match. Yeah, it's good. It's really good. Oh, Triple Threat Women's Tag Team Championship match. And I'm surprised that they actually told you who's in this match. I thought they would play this out on Tuesday or on Friday tomorrow night. Charlotte and Asuka, obviously champions, taking on Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair and Baymella. I'm into it. I love it. And finally, for the Intercontinental Championship in a lumberjack match, it's Big E taking on Sami Zayn. Again, I was in for half of that match. Hoo-wee, good match. Go watch it on SmackDown. And I think that's it for us, Tim.
That sounds great. I mean, I'm stoked now. That sounds like a really good Christmas show.
Ain't got nothing else to do.
Come on, Big E.
All right, let's wrap it up. Tim, where can the kids find you?
Kids can find me at TimStoneP, TimbStonep on Twitter.
And you can find us and the show at Tim and Joel Pod everywhere on social media, and now on YouTube at Tim and Joel Pod. Everywhere. It's becoming a global sensation. We have plans. We'll be back next week, by the way. We are going to do a little New Year's thing. We don't know what it is yet, just like we didn't know what we were going to talk about today, but we will be back. I will be on Fightful Gaming this Saturday with Jeremy Lambert, with Shaquille Majuri. We're going to play some video games. And finally, you can find me on all forms of social media at Joel Pearl. And until then, folks, Merry Christmas if you're celebrating. Happy holidays to everyone out there. Enjoy the time off. And finally, go and enjoy your wrestling. Have a good week, folks.